everyone, and happy Mind Your Mission Monday. In honor of Mother's Day, our theme for May has been motherhood, and today we're going to be talking about the importance of community within motherhood, which is something that I think so many moms are longing for and trying to intentionally build. At least that's something that I am trying to continue to build as I get deeper into motherhood. Today I'm joined by my friend Nina, and if you've been around for a while, you may remember Nina from a previous conversation that Liz and I did with Nina on the Deeply Rooted podcast back when it was Deeply Rooted, where she shared part of her story and journey surrounding her son with Down syndrome. And that episode was just such a beautiful reminder that God is truly present in every detail of our stories. I will link that episode down below for those of you who want to go back and listen to it. I highly recommend doing that. But now Nina is a mom of two. Like me, she gave birth to a baby girl this past fall. So our kids line up in age and gender almost perfectly. She has a 2.5-year-old boy and a 7-month-old girl as well, which has been just so fun and really deepened our friendship. We originally met through our Christian military community and have just stayed in touch mostly through our military mama group chat, which I'll talk about more in a bit. But for me in my life, Nina is someone who has made my motherhood journey feel far less lonely and has been a big part of my village. And she's someone who I know has a really good community, both in person where they're currently stationed, as well as long distance community. In parenting, we often hear that it takes a village, but for many moms, the question becomes, how do you actually find or build that village? So today we're going to be talking about community and motherhood, what it looks like to cultivate meaningful relationships, and encouragement for moms who may be feeling lonely in this season. So Nina, welcome. I'll say back to the podcast, but I guess welcome to the Mind Your Mission podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I've been super blessed by this podcast, and I just really hope that what we talk about today can bless other moms.
Do you want to just start by giving our audience a little life update since the last episode that we filmed? And since that conversation, what has motherhood been looking like lately?
Yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I hang out with my two kiddos all day. We are stationed in Seattle right now. My husband's in the Coast Guard, and so he serves here. And we spend most of our days just hanging out, going to parks, different community events with our friends. We have a great community at our church, so we've been really busy with just all the things kids. I feel like that's our lives are very busy and full, but in a fun way.
Yeah, I feel that. Life is busy and fun. You sum it up very well. So looking back on your journey and especially like jumping into motherhood a few years ago, how has your community played a role in your family's story?
Our community has been super important to us. When we lived in Virginia at our first duty station, I didn't do a good job of finding community and I felt really lonely, especially when Daniel was deployed at sea for a couple months at a time. And I definitely felt like a need to find community. And so once we ended up moving to Seattle and we had our son here, I was like, my number one goal is to find other moms, especially who I can rely on for support and for encouragement in motherhood, because I feel like motherhood can be very isolating. And so it's really nice to be able to have a community to rely on when you're in this season. And so through that, I've been blessed with a community at our church. We live really close to our church. It's like 3 minutes away. And through that is where we found basically all of our friends. We hang out multiple times a week with different groups, different individuals. We actually host a community group at our house on Monday nights. It's got like 17 adults and 11 kids. So very big group. And it's just the best being able to walk through this season with people who you can trust and rely, who are going to speak wisdom into you and even just be someone to listen when you have hard days has been just such a blessing to have that type of community in our lives right now.
Yeah. And I wanted to just say, like, when you become a mom, it's not that you end friendships that you've already established. Like, I'm still really close with a lot of my friends that I had before becoming a mom, but I think there's a specific desire when you do become a mom to walk closely with people who have kids as well. I think I struggled early on since I felt like I was one of the first in my pre-existing friend group to have kids. I struggled early on in motherhood just because mostly the time aspect, like so much of your life, your whole entire life revolves around your kids now. And the biggest shift I feel like I had to go through from like 0 to 1. Like that was definitely the harder transition for me, was 0 to 1, just because your whole life changes as far as like your time is not your own. And I don't blame my friends who don't have kids for not understanding that, but like they don't understand that. And again, it's partly my job to like bring them into that and still include them and still like, have grace and like show them and teach them. And I didn't really have a good example of that, not because there weren't people pouring into me, but because I never like babysat growing up. Like I had a younger sister, but I don't remember her being a baby. Like, so I didn't really realize that before becoming a mom myself. So I don't blame my friends who like don't grasp the time shift, but yeah, they just didn't necessarily understand like why I wasn't as available anymore. And I'm sure it could be frustrating when they don't seem like they have my full attention because I'm always, like, especially on the phone, like I'm always distracted. Other moms understand that, like on our mom calls, which again I'll talk about soon, but we are all distracted, but we also realize that like that's the season we're in and we still need community like amongst that. So anyway, I'm really thankful that you've found community in Seattle, and I am really grateful. For those of you who don't know, my family lives in Washington State, and so like I mean, it's rare to be able to see military friends in person. And even though it's only for short, like stints of time, like I literally saw Nina for like 5 minutes last time I was in Washington. But even that, just like getting together, taking a picture, like reestablishing like in person, like interaction has been a big blessing with Nina being in Seattle. And would really love, I mean, there's so many people that are afar that I would just like love to be stationed with so we can do the mom life together. But anyway, all that's kind of a tangent. I think for me, the answer when it comes to has perspective on needing community changed after becoming a mom, the answer to that question for me is yes. But Nina, for you, like, has your perspective and how has your perspective on needing community changed after becoming a mom?
After becoming a mom, I like could see how you need community even more. Just because with little kids, it's easy to get into those routines where it's like nap time, especially with a new baby. They take like multiple naps a day. So you end up spending a lot of your time at home and they're napping like at the opposite time as the toddlers. So a lot of it is spent pretty isolated. Knowing other like parents who can like walk through that with you is super important. And I saw that especially after having my second, I needed to have community, just especially for my like mental health and my emotional health. If I'm spending like multiple days at home alone and not having like a regular like community event in our week, I definitely fall into that trap of just isolating and being in our bubble at home. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that especially as moms, and becoming a mom, the need for community has just grown so much. And even like a community event where you're just only going for like an hour. I do that multiple times a week with my friends where it's like we have it structured. We go to the park on Thursday mornings and you just come, you try and come. We all are like, let's get there at 10:30. Most of us get there probably close to 11 or 11:30 just because
Yep.
it's hard.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely having those structured community things as a mom has helped a lot with me with keeping up with being in community and trying to stay with that and helping with my mental health and my emotional health and just any, especially my kids too. It's helped them a lot
Yeah.
with regulating
Right.
their emotions and
Yeah. Yeah. For the first 2 years that we were here in Maryland, we hadn't been going to a Bible study just because Weston's bedtime was very like he was such a great sleeper, and so I just like every night at 7, like that just is what worked best for him. Like he just went to bed right at 7, and so like we didn't bother for a long time trying to mess with that. And then after, I think same thing after my second came along, it was like, okay, like this needs to change. Like even though it's going to be inconvenient and it's going to be hard with the kids. Motherhood is really hard, and that's a shift for me. Like I need community more because motherhood is hard and like I needed other moms who are in this Bible study that we're going to now. One family has 5 kids, the other has 4. Like I needed other people to just like bounce things off of, like make me feel less alone in the things that I'm wrestling with. And also I think for the sake of the perspective we have of our kids, I think sometimes when you're just with your own kids all day, you think, at least I have taken a lot of like things really personally when it comes to behavior or things that they're struggling with. I think it's all my fault, I think. And being with other moms and other kids makes you realize that like yes, it's good to like strive for excellence when it comes to raising your kids, but also we have to give ourselves grace because our kids are not born perfect. Like we're all born sinners, including our children, and they're not bad just because they misbehave, if that makes sense. Like I think I realized through being with other kids that like everybody struggles, everybody has hard days. Like no kid is perfect. Because when I'm by myself and alone at the house all day, it can seem like nobody else is struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with, whether that's me personally or things with my kids. So yeah, I think for all those reasons, it's become even more important after becoming a mom. And we hear that it takes a village all the time, but what does that actually look like for you?
For me, especially because we move so often, I feel like we have to reevaluate that each time we move because you're moving yourself into a new village. And so for us, it's looked like finding a church and like a home that we can like have and a family that is going to be our family, like away from our family, because usually we're not living close to our family with these moves. And so it's our goal each time we move to find a church where we can get involved super quickly, and we do that through like serving on like different serve teams. It's usually my husband, he does worship, and then I'll serve in like kids or welcome community. But finding your village is hard. It takes a lot of like being bold and getting out of your comfort zone and like kind of putting yourself into those scenarios where you can become part of someone else's village. I feel like with military life, you just have to get used to that and you have to be bold and kind of get uncomfortable. And that's how we were able to find this community that we're part of. And people at our church here have been really surprised by how quickly we wanted to get involved. And they've told us how we feel like we are part of like the core church, like we've been there for years when we've only been there for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Looking forward to like next summer when we're supposed to move. A lot of people are getting very sad about that because they're like, it feels like you've been here forever.
Mhm.
Like getting to that level of community, it takes work and it takes like dedication. And I think it's just part of finding your village is you just have to like really try. It's tough, but
Yeah.
I think in the end it's really worth it because having those people you can rely on, especially like strong Christian like parents and other moms, other families is super
Mhm.
important. And I don't know how we would be where we're at without our village here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the past I've had more of a victim mindset about the moving aspect of the military when it comes to community because I always say like, "Oh man, I'm a person who likes to go deep and I just when you move around, it's hard to like go deep quick and all these different things." And when we moved here, I really fought hard and it's taken like you're talking about, it's taken work, but I fought hard to fight that victim mentality and then learn how to do it because I think there's a learning process to like learning which like you're talking about serving at church like learning how to put yourself out there and be comfortable with uncomfortable situations and like for example when we moved here typically I feel like when you get new neighbors like the people who already live there would like bring cookies or like a housewarming like come over for dinner they would be the ones but I'm like we're not waiting like we're gonna go to our neighbors our new neighbors and say hi we're the Johnsons like here's some cookies even though we're the ones who just moved in or like things like that I just have gotten more comfortable with over time and it's just because like you're saying I've realized I can't live without it like there's going to be things that not only we need but also we want to give. We want to serve our neighbors well. We want to serve our church community well. And I think another thing I've learned is just that like in a sense, you just have to be the community that you're looking for yourself. Like there's moms at our church who like are having babies and I just met them a few weeks ago, but I'm like, "Do you have a meal train?" because I just know how great that's been for me. Like so there's just things that you can go out of your way to do and then that kind of sets not that you're doing it so that you can get it in return but like it sets a precedence for like we want to serve each other this is how we want to be as a community as a village so yeah it takes work but like you're saying very much worth it and another thing that I realized when we moved to Maryland is I found really good friends through our church, but a lot of the girls I connected with weren't in the motherhood stage of life yet. And although we connect on so many levels and they've been amazing support to me and my family, I was really craving people who had experienced what I had when it came to motherhood and could speak into specific parts of parenting, both logistical questions like what worked for this scenario and what do you recommend for that thing, but also for like the deeply spiritual aspects of motherhood too. And I, like I mentioned, definitely had the victim mindset with that at first, like a woe is me for not having mom friends mentality. But then I also realized, like, wait, I do have mom friends. They're just scattered all over. And that's when I decided to create our military mama group chat. So whoever's available, we have a Zoom call once a month with all my friends from like the academy, time in my life, or even past that, who have since had babies, and we just are all in a group chat. We meet on Zoom once a month, whoever's available, to just talk about things that we're going through in motherhood and share prayer requests with each other. And I love that we have this group chat and Zoom calls. It's just a simple thing, but it's become something that I look forward to the most each month. And it's something that like I do appreciate the longevity aspect of it, that like even though we will move, we all are moving all the time, like we will have people who we don't have to re-explain who we are to every couple of years. Like that is nice too. Although like it is very possible to have great amazing community where you're at. It takes work, but it is nice also to have people who you've been walking with for years and who know like what you've gone through, and so you don't have to like re-explain every time you meet, if that makes sense. So that's why I finally like with a few things I've just taken it into my own hands in a way, and also I feel like looked at the word and just looked at what the word calls us to do when it comes to community, and like actually like put my nervousness and awkwardness aside and just said, you know what, I'm just gonna put myself out there, and if people want to jump on the Zoom call, then they will. And sure enough, it's been a great thing. So I'm very thankful that you're a part of that.
Yeah, and I've been super blessed by it, and I love how, like, we have it once a month, and I have it in my calendar, and it's something that I like try and make happen. I think it's really important to have like a rhythm like that in your life, and I really like that I've been able to get closer to and really connect with people who I've met because before, like, I had met you like kind of a little bit a couple times, but
Right.
definitely our like relationship has grown so much that we've started that group chat and had our monthly Zooms, and even with other like moms in the group. Like, I love checking in with them and seeing how their kids are doing, and it's been a great resource for any sort of questions. I feel like I'm comfortable asking anything in that group,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people are like sending a picture and they're like, "What does this look like? This rash
Yeah.
on my kid." It's just
Yeah.
nice to have people you can be like totally honest with, totally like upfront with your questions about motherhood, pregnancy. There's so many different like questions that you have, and having a set group of other moms is really nice to have to rely on.
Yeah, I feel like those sorts of things, like the specific example of like, what is this rash? Like, I feel like it's really tempting in today's day and age to go to like AI or like something like that for those questions, or like for starting solids or potty training. Like it's really tempting to go to the internet before you go to friends. But again, even though yes, AI over time is like getting to know you and building, its database, like still people aren't going to know your heart nor the Holy Spirit like other friends are. And so I've really enjoyed it, like to have just a, I know someone's going to respond at some point. Like it's really nice to have like a group that I can rely on for those, like any range of questions from spiritual to logistical. So are there any other things and that have helped you maintain friendships in motherhood when life feels really busy?
I think just like continuing to reach out and be available. I have like friends that we've moved away from, and like just for us trying to keep up like the rhythm of like, okay, we meet at least once a year. If we can try and like get
Yeah.
in person at least once a year, I know that like our friendship's like gonna like stay really strong, and just like continuing communication. It's really hard, I know, to especially like keep up with texting communication. So like calling or FaceTiming, I feel like that makes it easier. Yeah, I think just really trying to keep the door open communication wise with them, and even like just praying for them when you have like thoughts
Yeah.
about them, or like reaching out and be like, you came in my mind today, so I'm praying for you. I don't know what's going on because we haven't talked in
Mhm.
a while. I feel like that kind of relationship and keeping up with those types of things with people has been really important to me with trying to sustain those busy relationships when you're a mom and you're like, my time is very minimal.
Yeah. I feel like voice memos have been like a practical thing I've tried to do more of because like throughout the day, like I barely have a moment to like sit, especially when I'm home. Like when I'm working, easy, I have a moment to sit on my phone. But when I'm home, like I don't want my kids to see me on my phone all the time, even if it is to just text somebody back. And so I've used like voice memos often to like, I want to text you back, but I don't have time. So I'm just gonna like explain to you while I'm washing dishes and washing the kid and watching the kids. Like, so I've used voice memos for like a practical way to like catch up on my texts because I'm so bad. As soon as I open it, I like respond in my head, and then sometimes I don't go back to it. But we're working on that.
Mhm.
But I didn't know if you wanted to dive into it at all. But how has raising a son with Down syndrome changed the way that you view community?
It's been like an interesting thing. I feel like when he was a baby, like getting into community stuff was a lot easier because he didn't have like any like sort of like delays yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's not my son. He's like 2.5 and he's not walking yet. And so just now that we're like having kids his age who are like doing milestones that he's not, it's been a little bit harder. And I've been really like tempted by like the enemy just to have like those thoughts in my brain like, well, maybe he's not accepted, like maybe he doesn't fit in here. And I've been really trying to like not let those thoughts get to me, especially because I know our friend group and I know our community loves him no matter what. And we're just really blessed to have that, to have friends in a community where I don't need to worry about that. And it is scary to like think about moving to a new place and trying to find a community where like his special needs are a little bit more like you can see them now, like they're visual, like more visual than they were before. And so it has been something that's been on the back of my mind a little bit more since we're up for moving soon. But I'm just
Mm-hmm.
really hopeful, and I know that the Lord's going to put people in our lives who are going to love on my son and are going to love him like no matter what he has going on. So I'm just really trying to have faith and just rely on the Lord to give me that strength and to keep those like thoughts of worry and anxiety out of my head.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. I mean, I feel like that's the comparison game is hard even without the diagnosis. And so I really commend like throughout your entire time with Ayers, I your confidence and your like fierce love for him, like and your belief in him that he is like capable beyond measure. Like I've been really inspired by that and know that like I know of course things will be hard when you move and there probably will be circumstances that are more difficult than others, but I know that the Lord will carry you because he already has and that you will continue to fight the good fight for Air's sake. Like I just know that even if things are hard for you, like you're gonna be okay. One, because God's got you, but also because like you are just a really good mom, you know. So I was wondering too if you have any like encouragement that you would give moms who might feel isolated because their family situation looks different than what you would consider the norm.
Yeah, I think for encouragement, I could tell moms who have kids who or like family situations that don't look the same as other families is just to like trust the Lord. And like if you don't know the Lord, I would really recommend like reading your Bible and like trying to find a relationship with him because I feel like that's what's gotten me through. Trust the Lord more and really rely on him to sustain you through this because that's how I've gotten my strength through this is through the Lord. And so my encouragement would be that you love your kid, the Lord loves your kid, and they're going to be loved by people who will love them. And it can be really scary trying to find that group and that community who are going to love on your kid as much as they need to be loved on. But it's going to be hard to find that. And I trust and I know that as a parent, especially with the child with special needs, your love for them is going to reflect and show other people how to love them best. And so, yeah, I would just really encourage you to try and like reach out to like any sort of community groups in your area. We're involved with a lot of community groups at our church, and a lot of our friends have seniors like grow up from a baby to now, and so they love him in like every stage that he's been in, and they're gonna love him no matter what. But we've also been doing more community things that we are starting like new, and we haven't had anyone or any problems with that. So even if you're scared, I think that there's community out there for you. And I think that it's worth trying new things and being scared and a little anxious, but I feel like that there's going to be a place for them. And I hope that you're able to find it.
Your advice to love your kid and then let others learn from how you love your kid, that is really good advice. There's a family growing up that we did life fairly close with, just, involved in the same things throughout the community, but one of the sons had Down syndrome. Like that mom, similar to how you are, I feel like she walked very confidently and never seemed like she let it like bring her down, and she just loved her son fully, and all of us just like followed her lead when it came to interacting with her son. And I think that that's true, like even if it is just behavior things going on, or if it is like just, I know it's easier said than done, but just being confident allows others to follow your lead. I think that's really, really good advice. And then to kind of wrap us up, just to add even more encouragement than you've already given, what's one practical step that a mom could take this week towards building community?
I would say putting yourself out there, finding a community, you have to be bold, I think, especially when you don't have a very big community to start with. But just being bold and taking that like step of faith or that leap of faith into finding your community, it's going to start out like any sort of relationship. You're going to start out and be a little awkward at first, but you never know what's going to come out of it. You might end up with some of the best friends you'll ever meet, and your kids might end up with some of the best friends they'll ever meet also. So I think it's really important to put yourself out there, endure the uncomfortable for a little bit, and then you never know what kind of fruit or growth will happen from that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Easier said than done, but I know that in the past, the Lord has provided that boldness and the right words when I didn't think I'd have something in common with somebody, or I didn't exactly know what to say upon first introduction. Like the Lord has provided in that area, just with, I guess, obedience towards pursuing what He says is good in His word, which is community and to love one another and to love your neighbor and all those things. Like He asks us to do that. And even though it's uncomfortable sometimes, I can just echo what Nina's saying, like don't be afraid to make yourself uncomfortable and be bold, and then just trust too that the Lord will provide, and pray. I think you mentioned this already too, Nina. Just like pray for Him to bring the right people into your life for those right seasons, and that you can also be a blessing to the people that come into your life as well. So thank you, Nina, for joining us today on this extra guest episode for the month of May. For all of our listeners, the day that you're listening to this, Monday, is, I think this is the 25th, May 25th that you're listening to this. Tonight, we are having our monthly Zoom call at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you go to our Instagram or the link in the episode, wherever you're listening to it, and find the link to our Zoom call. We'd love to have you. And Nina, did you have any final thoughts for our audience before we go?
I just want to say thank you for having me. Like I said, this podcast has been such a blessing for me, and I just hope that other people can feel blessed and loved through this podcast. So thank you so much, Erin.
Just thank you for joining me. It's always fun. I feel like when, like, me and Liz love talking to each other, but we also, I think, really, really love guest episodes because the dialogue feels more natural and we can just bounce off of what the Holy Spirit provides. And yeah, so we're thankful for you, Nina, and thankful for everyone listening. And with that, this has been Erin and Nina helping you mind your mission.